Hello, how's it going? It's that time of the month again. It's time for a vlog. This month I am drinking just a small can, thankfully, because it's late and I don't want to get too drunk. It's by Vocation Brewery. It's Cloak and Dagger and it's an oatmeal stout, which is actually one of my favourite types of beer. So this should be nice. Should be black, should be full of flavour and, well, delicious. Serving in my Brewdog Teku, as is the pretentious way to serve beer. It's, it's good for the aromas, which hopefully this should have in spades. I won't pour it. There we go. Touch of sourness, but mostly sort of coffee and chocolate and all the good stuff that stouts normally have. I do think I'll rather enjoy this one. Oh, sharp. Touch bitter. Nice though, good. So, this was the month that I uploaded the P90 video and I finished the Iconic Arms series, season 3, which is great. That's good news. I was looking forward to moving on, and so here I am. I can move on. Unfortunately, that does mean I've got a bunch of other stuff to do. It's a different project, but still a mountain to get through. But I've made a start anyway. That's the main thing. And yeah. Oh. So anyway, yeah, P90, largely successful. Actually performed really well. Pretty happy with it. It was, just another episode of Iconic Arms. Nothing too special, but a strong performance is always nice to see. So to warm up, I'll run through the top comments on the video. I've not read them in a while, actually. Ava Tark says, can't get enough of these sick vector graphics and transitions. Too bad, because we're moving on to something else. Ben Haddad says, I love his voice. I've heard that before. 5Cheer4PN3O. Great as always, but there was really no info on its performance in real life. Rate of fire, effective range, usability, problems, updates, etc. Would have liked some more info on that, to be honest. I don't know. I don't really feel the need to list off stats about the gun, because it's really more about the cultural side of things. But we do talk about some of its armor-piercing capabilities. MK3424 says, say, Stuart, did you make a graphical error? When you displayed the FN57 pistol, you displayed the German flag, not the Belgian flag. It turns out, yes, I actually did get the colours in the wrong sequence. But in my defence, it looks better that way. And, I'm normally pretty sensitive to these things. I don't know why. I must have had a German flag floating around in my illustrated document. Oh, Ed Bezant. Suggestions for the next series. Oh, there's a big list. I get so many suggestions for Iconic Arms. That's why I'm glad to be moving on to something else. The M4, yeah, alright. MP40, pretty high up actually. MG42, yeah, I guess so. The Papa Shah 41, yeah. M2 Browning, okay. MP7 UMP, G36 Glock, FN Mini-Me, FN Mag, M40. Most of those are okay. We'll probably get to them eventually. My target's about 6 weapons a year. More than that, I don't know. Oh, the next top comment. Ideas. Flamethrower, Glock, Winchester 94, AUG, Barrett 50 cal. There's more. FAMAS, Remington 870. Oh, man. Like I haven't heard of these guns before. Anyway. And people discussing what's iconic and what's not iconic. Of course, I'm the final arbiter in that regard. Jamie Wheeler. Wait, Xbox Ahoy still makes videos? Man, I totally forgot about this guy. I used to watch him back in the Black Ops 1 days. Thank every divine power this was in my recommended, despite me not having played games or watched any gaming vids for 4 years. Ha. I don't know, it's not really part of my audience if he doesn't watch gaming videos. After all, I am a gaming channel, supposedly. Caliwati says, proud of my country. Belgium has some good-ass firearms. Well, FN makes some good-ass firearms. That's about all they've got, really. But I think FN is partially state-owned, so, you know, it's all good. LM, why do you sound like Soap McTavish? Well, don't really. Actually, I kind of, well... There's an accent in British which is quite unique, which is formed by a melange of different accents from all over the country. And you find it in places where people congregate from all over the country, like army barracks, for instance. It's called Forces English. Why do I speak with the Forces accent? Because I lived in a place... the only reason anyone would live in the village that I lived in was to work at the... well, there was one major employer. And so they had a lot of skilled workers come from all over the UK, congregate there, and they were my peers at primary school. Not the skilled workers, but the children thereof. I mean, my parents are originally from Scotland. They travelled to the northwest of England to this little tiny village just to work. Nobody lived there by choice. So it's a similar thing that you see on barracks, which is where you get this Forces English accent. So that's maybe, you know, similar in a sort of... But not really that similar to Soap McTavish, who I think is Scottish, isn't he? Mr. Pryor says SG-1. Yeah, a lot of Stargate fans getting a kick out of the P90 episode, but it is the P90 gun, so... A. Presdon says, Rush B Suka Bliat. Of course, the inevitable Rush B memes. There's been a lot of comments in that regard. Sam Wollerton says, I'd rather a P90 over an MP7 because accuracy is for nerds. Oh, I think he's talking about the Counter-Strike implementation. P90s are, you know, as accurate as the MP7. I don't know about the specific mechanical accuracies, but it probably is greater than the shooter in both cases, anyway. Recon PDW-1, the P90 will always be my favourite firearm. It's a nice weapon, actually. It is, you know, it's distinctive, but it's also, it's nice. It's usable, and as a video game gun, it's a good one. Rebel Beam Master X84, do the spoon, please. Why? Why? Toasty Blast. For those asking for weapons for the next one and do not read the description, the Polybius is next. Ahoy always leaves what weapon's next in his description, just so you know. But that is not a gun. It's not a gun. We're not doing guns anymore. Not for a little while. Ivan Malek says, guys, we need a futuristic looking weapon. Next comment, Belgium, say no more. The Swaggosaurus, maybe do like a joke video on a Nerf gun, lol. But why? But why? Why waste a video slot on doing a joke when you can do a real gun? If I do a real gun, I'll gradually whittle down the list of people, you know, the guns that people are requesting. So I don't know. I'm just going to, there we go, that's all of the can. That's going in there. Vital Misty, P90, Tech 9, Rush B, Sukapliat. Yep, more Rush B. Fire Rock Finian, 1040. I'm impressed with this inclusion of Far Cry Instinct's Predator, because sometimes I feel like I'm the only person that I know who's actually played that. I'm disappointed, however, that there was no direct reference to the Stargate SG-1. This is a weapon of war speech. Still a very good video nonetheless. Yeah. Goofy Zuniga. I love you, Ahoy. Your content is so inspiringly seamless. Keep it up. There you go. That's the top comments on the P90 video. Overall, yeah, went down pretty well. It's fine. Another 6 episodes in the bag. That's good. Definitely. So what's next? Polybius. Yes. You might have seen some of the progress in the Discord. I've been, posting some stuff on Paste. But yeah, I'm working on a video about the Polybius myth. And it's not going to focus too much on the nonsense. Like, there's a video about the game theorists, and they talk about MK Ultra and how it might be connected. I'm not really going to focus on that. I'm going to take a more concrete approach. The reason I'm doing Polybius is because some of the criticism of my content is that it can be superficial. Take, for instance, a brief history of graphics. Now, a brief history of graphics was designed to be superficial. The clue is in the title. But I wanted to do something which was more in-depth, more incisive, more analytical, just to sort of prove that I can. So I thought something like Polybius, where there's only a few shreds of evidence. I can do a spot of analysis on that. There has been a lot of talk about Polybius before on the net, but I don't believe anybody's done it comprehensively in video. There was a documentary that was supposed to be, it was on Kickstarter, The Polybius Conspiracy, but it failed to meet its goal. I think they were asking for $75,000. Me? I'll do it for, I'll probably do it for a couple of $1,000s of crowdfunding money. And I'll probably do a better job of it, to be honest. Although I'm not going to travel to Portland. I'm not going to get a plane ticket or anything like that. That would be, I think, a waste of money, considering the video game doesn't exist. And, yeah. So, yeah, Polybius. Like I say, it really does give me a chance to sort of drill into some evidence. And I'm hoping to actually, and this is an ambitious goal, I'm hoping to solve the mystery. Now, a lot of people, it's been dismissed a lot. Since its inception, Polybius has been written off as a hoax. And it is a hoax. But I want to find out who's behind it. But it could be tough. It could be tough. I have a key suspect. I've done a lot of research into this. I've looked at its propagation. I've gone full tinfoil hat. I've got a timeline. And, I've tracked the route that this myth has taken through culture. And I know the origin point, and I know the person responsible at the origin point. In fact, there's a few suspects at that sort of terminal point. It emerges around the year 2000. I think it's the 6th of February 2000. That's when it first appeared on the internet. And that truly is the first instance of the word Polybius referring to someone other than the Greek historian. So I think it's novel. It was created this millennium, not 1981 like the myth supposes. And there's a few people involved, but one of them in particular. I'm being coy. I've reached out to a couple of people with regards to interviews, but it's rather like playing pick-up sticks, because in the wide world is interconnected. So I don't want to disturb one stick without making I want to make sure I get people in the right order. Because if people start talking, then I don't know. I want to trap this myth, and I want to catch the guy behind it. I want to try and catch him in a position where he can't deny it. But if he stonewalls me, if he refuses interview, quite frankly, that's it. But I think he's going to talk. I think he's in a position where he might be prepared to. It's just a question of, is he going to perpetuate the lie, or is he going to come clean? I could even be wrong. That's the thing. I don't know for sure. It's all circumstantial evidence. It all points in the right direction, but it's still circumstantial. You can probably tell I've been enjoying this project. I've been donning my, PI cap. And, I did so much research the other day. Just a couple of days ago, I spent all day this was when I assembled my timeline, my master timeline of every single event related to Polybius. Every article, every forum post in a timeline sequence with verified dates on all of them. It took me all day, and all evening. But it's it's helped me paint a really sort of solid picture of how the myth has propagated. But that night, when I went to bed, I had the most vivid Polybius dreams you would not believe. So the game might not exist, but it might yet drive me mad. So yeah, it's going to be cool. I think we're going to have some nice graphics. I'm going to write an original soundtrack, which will be nice. But aside from the artistic side of things, we're also going to have some deep analysis. I'm quite looking forward to some of the dissection that I do, because there's some screenshots, and there are games which purport to be Polybius. But we can do some nice fancy stuff where we really sort of drill deep into each element. And I've done my research on this. Like the screenshot, people normally say, "Oh, well, the fonts look like they're from a Williams arcade game," and then they leave it at that. But I've gone through every single Williams arcade game, and I've tracked down the Williams game that most resembles the Polybius font. And, well, it's not a regular one, I'll tell you that much. I won't ruin the surprise. So yeah, the analytical stuff, that's new for this one. But I'm also going to do some human research, interviews. And, some of these might just be email exchanges. I don't know. Some people might not be prepared to speak to me. I think some people involved with this myth will just want to, email. Which is fine. What I might do in that case is I might either just read their email for them or show it on screen and deliver the gist of it, or I might pay voice actors, maybe like on Fiverr.com, or maybe even just, one of anybody sort of who might volunteer. But I do want to get some original audio recordings. I want to do some interviews, whether it's live interviews or prepared questions, I don't know. It depends on the subject, really. Like if it's somebody who getting timings aligned might be difficult for, I'll just say, look, here's some talking points. Can you record some audio where you talk about them? I'll use a snippet, in an interlude at some point in the video. There's a few people, a few journalists, a few people who've written about it. But I'm going to reach out to again, it's like pick up sticks. You reach to the most important ones first, and then you sort of, when you've got an idea of how much interview material you're going to need, you then sort of go down the pile to the less critical people. Not necessarily less interesting, but less mission critical. Because obviously the person I suspect who's behind the myth, I need to get him. I need to. Or her. It could be her. I don't want to ruin it. It's a him. It might not be, of course. Who knows? I don't know. I'm hoping that this is going to be the single most comprehensive video on Polybius yet. And more than just a meek probably doesn't exist. I want to get a definitive answer. And I believe I'm in a position where I can do that. With my combination of writing, graphical skills and all that sort of stuff. I think it can all come together. Because some of the visualizations I think will be quite nice. I've got, visions of doing the timeline and sort of interconnecting everything and illustrating how the myth propagated properly. Maybe this video will be really boring. I don't know. It's, live and learn. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, it was a rubbish video, but at least I solved one of gaming's greatest mysteries. I shouldn't get cocky. I haven't solved it yet. So yeah, that's next. What's after that? After that is probably going to be a return to a familiar format. I think after I've done the Polybius video, we are going to go back to Retro Ahoy, which of course, popular format, except this time, it's not going to be an FPS. It's going to be something else. It's going to be, actually. Ah, yes. Here it is. Oh, yeah. Wait, mirror. Wait. I could just do this, can't I? Ah, yes. It is The Secret of Monkey Island, the original boxed version for the Amiga. These were living in my parents' loft until quite recently. but my parents are having a bit of a clear out. So I said, bring me my stuff from the loft, Mum. I'll take it off your hands and I'll sort through it. But really, I was after this. Actually, these are in pretty poor condition. This needs a bit of a clean, actually. Something spilt on my Dialer Pirate, which is the copy protection. It's pretty nifty, just a little rotating disc. I really do need to clean it, though. I don't know what that is. It's yellow. I haven't touched this in 20 years, so not everything's exactly pristine. But we've got my Amiga reference card, because it's the Amiga version, of course, and the manual. So yeah, I think for Retrohoy going forward, I'm going to look and try and source as much physical media about the game as I possibly can, because this gives me, wonderful, wonderful stuff to scan in. The artwork, the manual's not so great for Monkey Island, but obviously Dialer Pirate, fantastic. And the box. I think the box is the only place where you see the elusive dog. There is a dog on the back of the box. I don't know if you can see. There it is. Dog saying woof woof off. Now that is actually an image that was cut from the game. It only appears on the back of the box because they ran out of space on disc 1, I believe. And in the scum bar and the opening scenes, you can talk to a bunch of the pirates, and it comes up with this lavishly illustrated portrait when you talk to them. And you can also talk to the dog, but in the final game, there's no portrait. It's only on the back of the box. So that's one purpose of getting the box. They take up a lot of space, though, because of course it's not just the Secret of Monkey Island. Oh no, I've got a bunch of games. Some of which may be future Retrohoy candidates, some of them might not be. I don't know. But I've got 2 or 3 box loads. What's this? Escape from Monkey Island, which was that was the 4th one, wasn't it? Yes, it was, yeah. Probably the weakest. I mean, they went a bit downhill. I don't know, I think 2 might be better than 1. But 3 was good, but not as good as the first 2, and then 4 was pretty good, but not as good as any of the others. But, still, part of the canon series. Civilization. Build an empire to stand the test of time. It's the AGA version. I think that came out in 92, 93. 256 colours on the Amiga 1200, which is AGA is basically the equivalent of VGA, but on the Amiga. It stands for Advanced Graphics Array. Of course, these days it's not that advanced, but it did mean 256 colours on screen. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk through my collection of games. This one, Theme Park. Sponsored by Livecash. It doesn't say that, actually. It doesn't say on the box. But it was sponsored by a bank. Yeah, there it is. On the back, there's a picture of the introduction. Midland Bank it was, but they've since become HSBC, the global brand. Spent a lot of time in this game, although I fear if I go back to it now, the interface was always a bit clunky, and it has issues with speed. Like it runs at, if your computer's too fast, it runs pretty fast, which isn't ideal. But yeah, no, it's good. Not as good as Roller Coaster Tycoon, but no, this one, UFO Enemy Unknown. I love the box art, but it kind of does beg the question, what is this alien? When does it appear in the game? Because it doesn't. It's not in the game. And why does it have, like, guns for arms? The person who painted this, had they even seen the game? I don't know. Anyway, this is a prime contender for another Retrohoy. This might be next up after The Secret of Monkey Island. Maybe. I don't know. I promise nothing. I promise nothing. David Braben presents Frontier Elite 2. I never really played the original Elite, unfortunately. I didn't have a BBC. I didn't really have, well, I was born in 1982, so in 1984, when the first Elite came out, I was probably a little bit young to appreciate it. But when this one came out, Frontier Elite 2, in 1991, I was of the age where I could appreciate it a little bit more. And it's a good game, it really is. I think this one, a lot of manuals for this one. Let's see, Quick Start Guide, Gazetteer, Guide to a few planets, a brief history of Achenar, Aquada, Akhenafi, Altair. Yeah, a bunch of stories there. Where's Larvae? Is it Lave or Larvae? You don't know. You don't know. There's no voice acting. So you don't know. Lavian? Don't know. Is Earth in here? Well, Earth isn't a system, is it, Stu? You're thinking of Sol. Oh, yeah. Is Sol in there? Sirius, Ross, Reedquat. There's Sol. I suppose I probably know all I need to know about Sol. Oh, Sol has its own section. Earth. Steeped in history, the Earth has suffered many adversities before becoming the resort that it is today. Humanity began here, and documented accounts tell of 3 planet-bound wars, the last one in 2040, almost bringing extinction due to the loss of life and environmental damage. For these reasons, the landscape has changed beyond all recognition since then, mainly due to devastation and depopulation of nearly all the cities and towns. The final insult was a viral pandemic, for which no cure was found, and many perished who were not resistant to it. Yeah. Normal Cold War theory stuff. Manual. Except I say manual. You can tell I was a teenager when I owned this, because you see how what I've done there, right? Is I filled in the M and the U with a black marker pen, so it says anal. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit disappointed in past me for doing that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's funny. But I might have needed to scan that. So, I don't know. What were you thinking? This used to be my wall a long time ago. It's I'm not going to fold it all out, but it's a huge I think it's A1. It's big, anyway. A couple of discs. These old games, they weren't all manuals, of course. There were some discs involved. These are actual short stories. Short stories set in the Frontier universe. You don't get these things with games anymore. You don't get stories, which is a shame. So yeah, Frontier. Good game. Like it. Like it a lot. I especially liked it once I worked out how to do the cargo cheat. You had infinite cargo. Worms. I'm just going to go on record and say, I hate worms. I despise this game. It's unreasonable, but I do despise it. The first one's okay, but I don't know. Team 17, they never had much. You had, that's it, just empty manual, copy protection code booklet, which is gloss black, printed on matte black. It's like 5 pages of us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of just numbers, 3-digit numbers. So you were given like table A to G, and then column A to Q, row 1 to 50. So And then you told a certain column, and you look it up, and then you type it in. And yeah, that was the copy protection. Because you couldn't photocopy this, because it was black on black. And, you know, this was just part of the course. We accepted it. Still, it's better than some forms of DRM. Is it DRM? It's just RM, really, isn't it? Not really digital. Disney's Aladdin. This is the Virgin one. If you had a Mega Drive and you had Aladdin, this is the game that you played, but this is the Amiga version. If you had a Super Nintendo, I think there was a different game. There were, oddly enough, I don't know why, there were 2 separate games for the Aladdin license. What's in here? One manual. Yeah, nothing particularly interesting, really. Just the usual manual fare and a plastic bag. No discs. Not all my discs are here, actually. I used to keep them in disc boxes. Which is, you know, the boxes just, yeah. This is actually a really good game, but it's also one of the most unfortunately named games of all time. Skid Marks. What more is there to say? It's a racing game. It's kind of isometric in the sort of Iron Man Stewart sort of style, but maybe a little bit fancier. Some nice scrolling too. Renin Blitz Basic, which, well, that means nothing to no one anymore. But there you go. Actually, not a bad little racer. Quite good fun as well. Super Skid Marks is the better game, however. In Super Skid Marks, you could drive cows on wheels with caravans. You could have cows on wheels that were towing caravans, and then have caravan races. Don't ask me why, you just could. At the start, leave your mark. Drift and slide, then crash or collide. Fly down the straight, but don't corner. They've spelt straight incorrectly. But don't corner late. Just take the lead and do the deed, 'cause you're a Skid Marks racer. But honestly, it's a good game, I promise you. What else? Oops. Some PC games here. Alpha Centauri, complete with all manuals. I think, you know, at some point I might have to do a video on this, because it's kind of the forgotten stepchild. They did try and revive it relatively recently, but it fell a bit flat. But there was something magical about this one, something distinct from Civilization, you know. I think it was the ability to build your own units, and just the aesthetic and the story behind it were just gelled really well. It's a good game, I loved it. StarCraft. I can't remember why I bought this. I'm not really... I think I was always a big fan of RTS campaigns. And that's why I bought this. The music was fantastic. I think I played the demo, which was just 1 or 2 levels, and then I thought, hey, this is really nice. This is cool. And then eventually I picked up the full thing. But obviously StarCraft, pretty big deal. I think Blizzard are still going. Monkey Island 2, that's upside down. Monkey Island 2. Oh, yes. This one on the Amiga, it came on, I think, 11 discs. This was, would have been, when did Monkey 2 come out? Monkey 2 came out in 1992. And it was really, you know, just the sheer number of discs that was the downfall of floppy disk-based adventure games, and they really needed CD drives. But as soon as they had CD drives, they had the space for voice acting, and the graphics budget ballooned, the voice acting budget ballooned, and adventure games became an expensive prospect, and they stopped selling as well as they could. You know, there's a combination of factors that really led to the decline. But this one had its own sort of code wheel. the Mix and Mojo Voodoo Ingredient Proportion Dial, where you had to match 2 voodoo symbols. So what have we got? Like that appears to be a sock and a spade, a sprig of something, a chili pepper, mushroom, sugar, a ball of yarn, wax, crab, MSG, breath mints, dead cat, toenail clippings. Anyway, you match these 2 symbols together, and then it tells you it's proportions. It's actually just a 4-digit number, but it pretends to be a proportion. So you've got different ailments: worms, gout, scurvy, warts, trench mouth, tattoo rash, peg leg rot. Yeah. DRM used to be a lot more fun. A bit less intrusive as well. Well, I don't know. Modern day DRM is Steam's inoffensive enough, isn't it? I don't know. Not a game. Deluxe Paint 3. It would have been Christmas 1991. The Cartoon Classics pack. The Amiga A500 Plus. It came with 3 games. Lemmings, Bart Simpson vs. the Space Mutants, and Captain Planet. But it also came with this very application. Deluxe Paint 3 by Daniel Silva. One of EA's early productivity packages. Well, not that early. They started with Deluxe Paint 1, or Deluxe Paint as it was called. Deluxe Paint 3 came a bit later. I think it was released 1989 originally. And then it was bundled 1991. It's a cut down package. I don't think it has all of the features. I don't know, 3 discs. The program was on 1. Animation assets were on another. An art disc, which is just basically a bunch of pictures. But this was a fantastic tool. It was really, really, really spectacular. It was the first proper digital paint program that I ever used. And it's where I first kindled a love of computer graphics. So this is pretty special for me. It's obviously, it's a dated program, but there was just something very, very comfortable about Deluxe Paint. It worked, and it was nice, and you could sort of instantly see what was going on. And it had all of the tools. To be honest, it stands up today as a pixel art tool. It really does stand up today, just because of the way everything's designed very, very nicely. The only trouble is, obviously, the Amiga doesn't stand up today, so using it, not the easiest thing. But no, Deluxe Paint 3. The Tutankhamun thing. How strong is this? Tutankhamun. That guy, yeah, he was kind of a motif of Deluxe Paint. Secret of Monkey Island, that got all of the acclaim, but there are some other graphical adventures which I am quite fond of. This is Flight of the Amazon Queen, came out in 1994, I think. This is the Amiga version, which is actually, I think, relatively rare, because the Amiga was dying off at this point. But yeah, this is, it's basically a rip-off of Monkey Island. But it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of self-aware. And it was a nice game. I think I might replay it at some point. It works in ScumVM, which is quite nice. It's a little bit more adult as well. Not much more adult, but there's a touch more sex appeal in some of the characters. Yeah, definitely. Fantastic, and it's quite rare as well. It's probably my second favourite point and click, behind Beneath the Steel Sky. Beneath the Steel Sky, probably my favourite. Flight of the Amazon Queen, second favourite maybe. Monkey Islands are up there too, but everybody likes those. What else have I got? Micro Machines. This is actually one of the first games I bought with my own money. there was a mail order company called Special Reserve in the UK, and their prices were actually pretty good. You had to pay postage, which is a bit of a pain. But I remember this was it was a game that I always wanted to play, and I think it was $7.99, which was a really good price. Considering if you went to like a regular store, you'd be paying 20-30 quid. So to get it mail order, you could save a bit of money, even if you were paying $2.99 postage. So this is, I think it was one of the first games I bought with my own money. Which is, kind of special. Not that special. To be honest, whether you pay for it or not, it's still a game, isn't it? This is not my game at all, actually. This is... I got this some years later, after the Amiga. It's James Pond 2, Robocod. I don't hate this game. It's okay. But it's another also-ran platformer with a cutesy gimmick. It is one of the better cutesy platformers, to be honest. But it's obviously, it's no match for Sonic or Mario. I would quite like to talk about games like this, Robocod, and a few others with these sort of cutesy mascots. What's his name? Robocod. That's it. Yeah. That's literally just his name. He's mean, he's green, he's part machine. He isn't even green, he's orange. Anyway, yeah. It was okay, this game. It was alright. The third one was disappointing. This one was okay. But, yeah. Cutesy platformers, man. I tell you, if you were alive in the early 90s, you've had your fill. After Mario and Sonic were successful, a lot of people tried to copy them. And there's this sort of space in between Doom. Everybody tried to copy Doom, but just before Doom came out, they were still pumping out these bloody awful platformers. Speaking of which, here's another Sonic wannabe, Zool. Zool was probably the premiere of the Amiga platformers. It was polished, to be fair. It was quite good fun. There was the music world was quite cool because it had a piano what you could jump on and play notes, and that was pretty good, alright? Yeah, it was fine. It was cool. It's very 90s. But a lot of these cutesy platformers, they reek of inauthenticity. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yeah, alright, we get it. You want to be Sonic. Get over yourself. So there's definitely a video in like these mascot-based games. Definitely. I don't know what the point of the video will be. I'll probably just complain about how I hate cutesy platformers. But it's good to get ornery once in a while. Oh, I don't know why, but I love this game. It's part Maxis, part Japanese. It's ArtDink. ArtDink's award-winning #1 selling game of Japan is now brought to you by Maxis, the creators of SimCity. So it's a Japanese train simulator. It's a little bit like Railroad Tycoon. Or Locomotion. I love Locomotion. Truly a brilliant game. Everybody's all like, oh, Roller Coaster Tycoon. Ooh, no, Locomotion. That's where it's at. But A-Train, I used to play this for hours. The feeling when you successfully pulled off a bustling belt line. Oh, yes. There was a bug in the Amiga version, at least, with the Shinkansen. When you reached a certain population, the bullet train would come through your town. And it wouldn't do much. It was just a little neat feature. I think it affected land prices. But on the Amiga version, I'm pretty sure, for me at least, it crashed the game. If you looked at it, if you looked at the Shinkansen for too long, the game would crash. And it used to come through a little corner in the bottom left of the map, at least on the default map. And so I always used to avoid that corner because it was just, that's where the crashes were. Maybe it was just my disc. Maybe. I don't know. But I love this game. It's a little bit obscure. They actually released an A-Train for the Xbox 360. A-Train HX. But I've got to be honest with you, it wasn't that good. It's a really nice manual, this. It's full of little sidelines, they call them. It's got little sections on railroad talk, Pocatello Yardmaster, derisive term for boomers, all of whom presumably claim to have held at some time the tough job of night yardmaster at Pocatello, Idaho. There you go. Proper stiff. Hobo who considers manual toil the acme of disgrace. Real estate. Poor coal mixed with dirt or slag. When mixed with sand, it's called seashore. You see? You just don't get this sort of stuff off Wikipedia. A peg. Train rider who lost a foot. Yes. I could read these sort of manuals all day. It's quite good. It's got little suggested track layouts, menus, how to operate everything. Sidetrack. Ordering lunch on the rails. Give me a couple of battleships, a pan of Murphys on the main line, and a string of flats on the siding. It was the waiter's turn to look mystified. Cut the cow cart off the Java train, continued the boomer, and switch me a couple of life preservers for a consolidation. It's a long drag to the next feed tank, and you'd better fill the auxiliary to its full capacity. Say, cried the biscuit shooter, I've only been here a week, and you left me behind at the last stop. Excuse me, returned the brakeman. I thought you were an old head. Give me a couple of pork chops, fried potatoes, and a side order of wheat cakes. Also a cup of black coffee and donuts. Fill the lunch basket too, for it'll be some time after I get to the next restaurant. Put the coffee in the bottom and fill the upper deck with sandwiches and pie. It's little stories. Little story. You don't get that. You just don't get that. Just text me back, you know? Just text me back. The Ballad of Casey Jones. Anyway. Back when Maxis used to be top of their game. Maxis, they don't exist anymore, do they? Well, they're a shell of their former selves. Mind you, Maxis, they're lauded for stuff like SimCity, but they didn't do much outside of SimCity. They had SimCity, they did SimCity 2000, SimCity 3, SimCity 4, but even the sales of that dwindled towards the end, and they didn't really have a lot of success with anything else. Well, they probably did, but... well, obviously... I'm forgetting about The Sims. I'm not really forgetting about it, but I'm thinking like in the 90s. They had other games like Sim Ant, Sim Life, Sim Helicopter, and they were neat diversions, but they weren't really on the same scale as SimCity. I think we sort of forget the fact that they had a lot of failures, even when they were at the top of their game. And when SimCity's sales started to slide, you know, obviously... If you're privy to the sales data and you can see a downward trend on the graphs, you might think, well, what's the point in investing anymore if we might not get a return on it? The Sims, you know, I think The Sims kept Maxis aloft for a little while. But even that, I don't know. They're just not the same as they used to be. But people blame it on EA, but it's really, I think, it's more market changes. maybe developers shouldn't have to conform to the market, but, well, they kind of do, because that's the only way you get funding. You can't just indulge your hardcore fans. You do need to find some sort of broad appeal if you want to get a big budget. And so, that's the death of Maxis, death of Bullfrog, Westwood, and all the others. Shame, really, because these Microprose, they were another good one. They did. I mean, Microprose was a watchword for quality. Same with Psygnosis. Although, looking back at some Psygnosis releases, a lot of them weren't very good. Thinking about Pugsy, for one. That was a Psygnosis published game. That was awful. Well, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't completely without merit. But it was another one of those cutesy platformers which I despise so much. So yes, thank you. That is, well, those are the good bits of my Amiga. I'm going to show you a couple more. I finished my beer, but we'll carry on. This is one of my favourite games of all time. This is WizKid. It's by Sensible Software, published by Ocean. Ocean used to be based in Manchester. They don't exist anymore. And WizKid, I can't even describe it to you. It's part puzzle, part adventure, part action, part weird, and I love it. I absolutely do love it. Spoiler alert, if you do try and play this game, you will not understand it. It is pretty out there. But it's wonderful. I love this game. I still do. I think one day I would like to cover this. I don't know when, I don't know how, but this is a game that's quite dear to me. I mean, all these games are dear to me. With the exception of James Pond, these are games that I grew up with. So these, directly speaking, they are the fuel behind my passion for stuff like Retro Ahoy. And it's the original stuff, the stuff that was owned by me back in the day. So, strange times. This one was not owned by me. I did own this game. Don't tell anyone, but I had a pirate copy. This is a legitimate copy which I found last week at a flea market for £2. I love that. You don't see Amiga games, you just don't see them. But this, the old big box, it could have been the PC version but no, it's the Amiga version. Because everybody had an Amiga back in 91, 92. This game, I think, was released in 1991. It's brilliant. It's complete. I didn't even look in the box when I bought it. I just wanted it for the box art. But it's actually complete. It comes with the original diskettes in a bag with a little note that says, "Do not use these discs. Use the backup copies." There are the backup copies. Key reference cards. Technical supplement. The reason you had to... Oh, hello. Someone's written in it. You may load direct from disk 2 to bypass introductory sequence. Do you know, thinking about it, I don't think I had the introductory sequence. I think... Let's see, disk 1, disk 2, save disk 3, disk 4. I think I only had disk 2, 3 and 4. I don't think they bothered copying disk 1 because you didn't need it. So I've never seen the introduction. I might have to watch it one day. Required equipment, computer and display. And then, of course... Oh, hello. It's a late edition slip. Additional features on Formula One Grand Prix. The simulation has several new features that do not appear in the original documentation. Please open the read.me file found on disk 4 for more details. And then, because it's a Microprose game, you have a suitably beefy manual. There's actually quite a lot of photographs. There's a lot about Formula One. It's the 1991 season. I think they do have a list of drivers and all sorts. What the different flags mean. The teams, AGS, Coloni, Fond Metal, 7-Up, Team Jordan, Larousse, Ligier, Lotto, Scuderia Italia, Braun, Tyrrell, Honda, Team Lotus, Footwork Arrows, Leighton House Racing, Cannon Williams, based in Didcot, Nigel Mansell, Riccardo Patrese, Camel, Benetton Ford, Michael Schumacher, age 25. Oh, I made myself a bit sad thinking about Schumacher. Nelson Piquet, Luigi Martini, Gianni Morbidelli, Martin Brundle, Mark Blundell, Alain Prost, John Alesi, Ayrton Senna. Oh, man. Oh. It's got all the circuits. Barcelona, Estoril. Where's Estoril? Portugal. On my pirated copy, the Hungaroring, it always crashed. Anyway, I should probably bid you good night. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.